Hey guys, Jason. And I always hate bringing these sad stories, and I guess they're not sad, but they're disappointing. When somebody in the Bitcoin community, misuses the trust of those in the Bitcoin community, or just the average Bitcoiner. And this is one of these where the FBI got involved. And I thought this was kind of interesting. I normally some of these stories I just kind of bypass. I'm like, they're not really that important. But I thought this is kind of crazy because there are sources out there where you can quote unquote launder Bitcoins, right? It becomes a very interesting topic because you have those who very, very much value their privacy, and they say the government shouldn't be monitoring where I'm spending my money. And there's some out there that say, I like the idea of Bitcoin, the use of microtransactions and the low fees, but I'm not really in the privacy sect of it. So you have these two different kind of oculating personalities of the Bitcoin hive mind, and sometimes they don't perfectly see together, right? And this is one of those where some people would say, oh, it's good to have be able to launder your money so that the government can't track it. But also the problem is when you launder that money, you're also sometimes using it for criminal intent. And that's what happened here with Coin.MX. So the founders are being charged with money laundering violations, and it's pretty serious. So I want to kind of just reference some stuff. This is where it gets iffy. Not iffy. This is where it gets kind of interesting. They laundered around, at least the FBI says, $1.8 million. It gets iffy because here's the problem. There's people out there who legitimately use these laundering services just to protect their privacy, so no one can track where their money moves and all that. So they're not using it for criminal intent. But there are those out there who are using money for illegal gambling, for crime. There's a lot of crime with Bitcoin. And I say crime, and I know people are getting mad at me, but like in the United States, drugs are illegal. Whatever your personal opinion, they're illegal. And so the big thing with that is that we have, things like the Silk Road that get used. And so when people launder that illegal, received money so they can use it for normal goods, that's considered laundering money. And so we have cases like this where the FBI gets involved. And we have things like the Silk Road, which if you look in the technical details of the Silk Road, no matter what your opinion of the actual use of the Silk Road, there was so much corruption in that case with even the investigators, stealing those Bitcoins. It's one of these cases where it's very, very highly technical. And you're trying to take a juror, 12 jurors who most of them probably don't, know how to use a cell phone, but they're not they don't understand, the technical backing of it. And you're trying to explain to them, from a prosecutor and defense standpoint, very technical stuff, and you're trying to put it in layman's terms. And as we all know, some things can't be, layman's term down. If you look at the Iran big thing, it was if you don't know, it's about 2003, I believe, with the huge financial thing. It was this company was investing in a lot of oil, and they were doing some really crazy stuff, but they were doing it so complex that it was really hard for auditors at the federal government and for the SEC to really know what they were doing. So Iran had these reviews where they summarized in these 2,000 or 3,000 page documents what they were doing. That was it was summarizing 200,000 or 300,000 pages of information what they were doing. Well, the judges in these cases were trying to summarize, and they still could only get down. They had their summaries of these 2,000 or 3,000 page documents were like 500 or 600 pages. And the reason was it was such a complex case that sometimes you can't simple things down because it loses its value. And so the Silk Road case is just like that. It really highly technical. Were they breaking the law at the current present date? Yeah, they were. But there was a lot of stuff around it. There's rumors the guy tried to hire a hitman. There's a lot of stuff with the investigators that were working for the government. Were doing legal stuff and that. So it gets crazy. And so with this, we run into the question I would ask. Were these people laundering, create this laundering money service? Were they know it was going to be used for illegal services? And that's what a lot of times the jury's going to ask. They're going to say, was this guy knowingly creating this service for illegal purposes? Or was he using it and creating it for the privacy aspect of it? And it just so happened that because he created it for the privacy aspect, that people that normally would use money laundering for crime chose to use this Coin.MX. And that we don't know. The FBI is not really saying too much here. All they're saying is that they're paying the $1.8 million and that they're being charged with criminal activity. And, then they talk about how this was being used. And this is of course, they're not charged yet. They're being charged, but it's allegations that they, if you guys have ever heard of, there's, and people are going to laugh at me for this, but there's a thing called BitLocker. And I work at CNS, Computer Network Services at my college, and I think things like BitLocker are awesome. right? And people out there are going to be like, Jason, how can you think BitLocker's awesome? It encrypts your computer, and they basically charge you what they call ransomware to pay. You have to pay to get your stuff unlocked. I just think it's interesting because of how it works. I'm not endorsing it. I think it's a bad thing, but it's just interesting because you have these people who are saying, okay, why don't we encrypt your computer? You have to pay for it. There are police departments down in Texas who actually had to pay that ransomware. The FBI couldn't even help them because it encrypted their information for ongoing cases. And I've seen this, and I can't say too much because of NDAs, but working for different departments, different areas, I can't even say where, and security sometimes isn't the most highest priority, and so you get things like people are getting on and downloading coupon apps on their work computer, and they're getting this ransomware. So I always joke that it's kind of interesting, but apparently, and again, this is an allegation, but they were using this Coin.MX to launder this ransomware money to make it legit. And that's the whole idea of money laundering. You're taking money that's illegally obtained, and you're trying to switch it in with illegally obtained money, people that are using the service for legit means, so that the government can't figure out the difference. And so we talk about the privacy aspect of that, but we also talk about the problem is if you have, person A wants to use it for anonymity so they can keep their privacy protected, but person B is using it for criminal activity, their money comes welded together. Well, the problem with that is that suddenly no one can tell if that money at the end is, legally obtained money or not. And that's why money laundering services are illegal, at least in the United States and mostly around the, first world countries. So it's going to be interesting to see what happened. This is one of those stories that just kind of, piques my interest. And I thought, well, it's kind of interesting. The FBI, money laundering, Bitcoin, ransomware. It kind of has all those really interesting aspects of, also privacy and, and protection of spending your own money without the government watching. So there's all these really interesting different, avenues of interest that this story has. And I just thought I'd bring it to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll keep you updated. I'm kind of personally interested too to see where these FBI, they arrested these founders. So they're being charged now. It's not just, I say it's allegations, but they're all being charged. They have been arrested. So I guess we'll see where this story goes. Thanks for watching.